New York Attorney General Letitia James will deploy legal observers to federal immigration operations. New York Attorney General Letitia James will deploy legal observers to monitor and document federal immigration enforcement activity, her office announced Tuesday. The move marks a significant escalation in ongoing tensions between states and the federal government over immigration policy, as several states seek greater oversight and transparency regarding how enforcement actions are carried out in their communities.
You're looking at a map of New York City. On the surface, it's just streets, buildings, and noise. But if you look closer past the concrete and the chaos, you'll see the lines of reality beginning to blur. You are entering a place where the law isn't written in black and white, but in shades of purple and green. A place where the person standing next to you isn't just a neighbor, but a soldier in a war that hasn't been declared yet. You've just crossed over into the lawfare zone. They are here, and they are wearing purple. If you walk down the streets of Manhattan today during a federal operation, you will see a stark, almost theatrical contrast that signals the beginning of the end of the old order. On one side, you have the federal agent ICE officers in heavy tactical gear, helmets and shields moving with the weight of the United States government behind them. On the other side, standing just feet away, is a new uniformed force, the purple vests. These are not protesters. These are not random activists. These are state employees dispatched by New York Attorney General Letitia James under the banner of her newly formed Legal Observation Project. The visual alone is enough to stop you in your tracks. Two uniformed armies, answering to two different commanders, occupying the exact same square footage of American soil. It is a quiet standoff, but the silence is deafening. But let's pause and look at the machinery behind the curtain. You might be asking yourself the same question the legal scholars are whispering in the back rooms. Can she actually do this? We watched the media tear apart the idea of a Department of Government Efficiency, asking where the legal authority came from to create a new office out of thin air. Yet here we have a state attorney general unilaterally creating a legal observation project, effectively a surveillance agency designed to police the federal government. Where does the funding come from? It comes from the state budget. Where does the authority come from? She argues it stems from her duty to protect the welfare of her residents. But make no mistake, this is a creative, if not aggressive, expansion of legal power.
As Attorney General, I am proud to protect New Yorkers' constitutional rights to speak freely, protest peacefully, and go about their lives without fear of unlawful federal action, James said in a statement. We have seen in Minnesota how quickly and tragically federal operations can escalate in the absence of transparency and accountability. Dubbed the Legal Observation Project, the initiative is designed to help assess whether federal actions are conducted in compliance with the law and to provide independent documentation of how those operations unfold in real time.
She hasn't just hired lawyers, she has operationalized them. She has turned a legal argument into a physical presence. And here is the twist that you won't see coming. The part that makes this entire situation believable once you understand the game being played. The shocking truth is that this isn't about protecting immigrants. It isn't even about stopping deportation. The purple vest is a weapon. It is a calculated attempt to trigger a specific federal crime. 18 U.S. Code Section 111. This law makes it a felony to impede a federal officer by placing her staff state officials directly in the path of federal agents. Letitia James isn't trying to avoid a conflict. She is manufacturing one. She wants a federal agent to arrest a state official. Why? Because the moment a federal agent puts handcuffs on a guy in a purple vest, the visual goes viral. The state sues the federal government for kidnapping a state employee, and the entire federal deportation system freezes while the Supreme Court figures it out. The shocking truth is that the vests are bait. The Department of Homeland Security isn't blind to this theater. They know that a camera lens can be just as obstructive as a barricade when it's shoved in an officer's face during a high-risk raid. But the feds aren't just worried about cameras. They are worried this is the first step in a plan to physically block federal power across the entire country, triggering what some are quietly calling a soft civil war 2.0. Let's dissect the term she uses. Neutral observer. In the world of the lawfare zone, language is often the first casualty. These observers are trained to document every breath a federal agent takes. They are there to record the temperature of the room. But by their very presence, they raise the temperature. Imagine you are an agent trying to secure a dangerous suspect and 3 people in government. Issued vests are circling you, writing down your name, your badge number, and your tactical movements. Is that neutrality, or is that soft intimidation? James argues it is transparency. The feds argue it is doxing, exposing their agents to public reprisals and compromising the safety of the mission. We must also address the ghost of 2008. For nearly 2 decades, fringe theories circulated about the creation of a civilian national security force, a domestic corps that would operate parallel to the military, but focused on the homeland. What we are seeing in New York is the prototype of that concept. This is a state-funded civilian-led corps deployed to monitor enforcement. It creates a dual power structure in the streets. If the state has its own army of observers, and the feds have their agents, who truly holds the monopoly on force, when 2 sovereigns claim jurisdiction over the same pavement, history tells us that friction inevitably turns into fire.
The project will see teams of state-trained legal observers, acting as independent witnesses, travel to reported locations of immigration enforcement activity and record interactions between federal officers and New Yorkers. The state's observers will wear purple safety vests to make their presence clearly identifiable.
Why pull this lever now? Why enter the lawfare zone at this specific moment in history? You have to look at the chessboard. Letitia James is currently fending off her own legal besiegers. Federal investigators looking into her offices conduct grand juries questioning her previous prosecutions. By deploying the purple vests, she effectively builds a human shield made of moral high ground. If the Department of Justice indicts her tomorrow, she can point to the purple vests and say, "See, they are coming after me, because I dared to watch them."
James will deploy legal observers in the coming weeks to oversee federal agent actions where they occur, emphasizing monitoring rather than intervention. For the moment, the Department of Homeland Security hasn't announced any major enforcement surge in the state. However, Border Czar Tom Homan said in November that Immigration and Customs Enforcement would increase its presence in New York City due to its status as a sanctuary city, suggesting additional operations could take place. James's office stressed that observers won't interfere with immigration operations, but instead document federal conduct to ensure accountability and create a factual public record of events.
It transforms a corruption investigation into a political martyrdom. It is a brilliant, cynical purple pawn defensive maneuver. This brings us to the edge of the cliff. If New York succeeds in this, if they can successfully neutralize ICE operations simply by shadowing them with state employees, then the precedent is set. California will follow. Illinois will follow. We will move from a United States to a patchwork nation where federal law applies in Texas, but is effectively nullified in New York by a wall of purple vests.
News of the project comes weeks after Trump's DHS launched another federal immigration operation in Minneapolis, Minnesota, deploying thousands of federal immigration officers to the area. During that operation, 2 U.S. citizens, Renee Good and Alex Pretty, died following reported encounters with federal officers, according to local officials and attorneys. Good was described by local officials and her family's attorneys as a legal observer at the time of the incident, and Pretty was recording officers' actions on a phone when he was later shot and subsequently passed away. The circumstances surrounding both deaths have been the subject of reports and ongoing review.
We are looking at the potential end of federal supremacy, not through a declaration of secession, but through the slow grinding friction of bureaucratic resistance. So as you watch the news tonight and you see that flash of purple on your screen, don't just see a vest. See the trap. See the line in the sand that is being drawn deeper and deeper.
Supporters of the Legal Observation Project say efforts like these aim to promote transparency and protect civil liberties, while critics argue they could heighten friction between state and federal authorities. As immigration enforcement continues to be debated nationwide, New York's approach reflects a broader conversation about oversight, accountability, and the balance between public safety and individual rights.
You have walked through the possibilities, you have seen the mechanism of the trap, and now you must decide if this is oversight or the end of the Union as we know it. But if you look up above, you'll see two signs hanging in the digital air. One will show you the tactical reality of the ICE response, and the other will take you deeper into the theory of civil war 2.0. Click one of the two signs you see at the top of your screen. Continue the journey. Because while we are exiting, the battle has only just begun. So be sure to give us your thumbs up and consider subscribing to Political Detox, where you're free to escape Letitia James' political theater, located directly in the heart of New York City in the Lawfare Zone.